Why do you think some people that have these near-death experiences don't have an experience like yours and some do?
Yeah, I get asked that question quite a lot, and it's a huge question that I haven't got a straight answer for. Like, oh, it happened to me, because, I mean, all I know from my own point of view that my life was in such dire straits. I mean, I was about to be evicted from my apartment. You know, I got bailiffs chasing after me. I was drinking heavily to try, as I said earlier, because that's the way I dealt with it. I was broke. I was just sunk right down to rock bottom, and I couldn't have sunk any lower. And so my own personal journey was that I needed that spiritual awakening. I needed that moment to sort of turn around and say, look, you could do this with your life. This is where you can go now, which I wouldn't have seen that at all. Never in a million years, you know. And I don't know. It's a big one. It's a big. Sorry that I'm not able to give like a straight answer to that, because there's certain things that are so big that you know, none of us can really answer, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I don't think you don't need to apologize. I think you actually did answer it, to be honest. You know, that I believe certain people have these experiences, any experience in life, whether spiritual or not. And I just personally, my wacko mind believes we have these experiences and interpretations of events when we quote unquote need it. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that have had near-death experiences or certain experiences where they may have felt that they needed certain messages or this, that, and the other. And if they didn't get it, you maybe could be pissed off because you feel like you need it, but maybe you don't. And I think it goes back to, again, what you just said about there's just maybe just an understanding that we're maybe just not quite capable yet or at all to comprehend. But in regards to, I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit. I'm just curious about the logistics of it. Like when you're saying you received this information, this downloads, if you will, what is that process like for you? Is that just a knowingness? Like walk me through you receiving this information and how that actually panned out.
It's something, as I say, that continues on, and I find that it continues on through my creativity. Because when I first came back, a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you must have been really gutted when you came crashing back into the hospital, into your body." And I said, actually, I wasn't. Even though it was amazing where I'd just been, all I could think was, why have they sent me back? What is my destiny now? That is clearly I have a purpose now, and I need to follow that through. And I started, following that through. I discovered what it was. First of all, I thought it was going to be, caring for people and being a healer or what have you, And but I realize now that my work is by helping people through my art and my music. But it's also helping me as well. It's just I'm constantly growing through the work that I do. I've just been commissioned to do a huge painting actually for a spiritualist church, and that was one of the. I was really pleased when I got that commission, because it was just something that was really important to me to do. And I've spent a lot of time, a lot of energy just getting that and pulling it together. And I look at that painting now and I just think, wow, I can't believe I've created this. I still don't, I still feel it's incredible. And it's just because I feel like I'm still sort of channeling thoughts and ideas and knowledge through. But beyond that, I also I've realised that I don't use my thinking mind so much as I used to, and I think once you switch off the thinking mind, the egoic mind, if you like, then all the ideas start to come through, and they're the authentic ones, and they're the ones that are the real ones. They're the ones that are right, and they're the ones that work, and yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like that channeling, and I always believe like we could tap into this, and yeah, you've had this experience, but I'm just a believer that we all have this capability to tap into this, whatever this is, this frequency, this vibration to source, or whatever the heck's going on in the universe, and it seems like that's what you're tapped into. But real quick, just to clarify, this painting ability and creativity that you have now, you mentioned that you weren't doing this prior to this experience. Did I have that correctly?
That's right, yeah. I loved, when I was at school, I loved drawing and sketching and stuff like that, but I was completely dissuaded by the teachers because they said, you need academic qualifications, if you want to take this any further. You're going to work in the factory and that's it, and which I didn't want to do that. So, I moved to London. I thought if I moved to London, then maybe I've got a chance. And but as soon as I got there, it was expensive, like all capital cities. And I was working on construction sites, working in kitchens, washing dishes, pots, pans, anything I could get my hands on, to make money. And that just wasn't for me. It just wasn't working for me. I realised the guys on the construction sites were happy there, and they were good at that job. I couldn't do it. So yeah, all the gears were grinding for me, basically. Yeah,
that's some wild. I mean, you're coming back with the ability to do what you're doing now. I mean, I don't know how else to explain that. And I related to, I've heard a lot of I don't know if it's like Rick Rubin or just other creative minds. They look at creativity, ideas, and some of the things we do as this muse, it's like as if these ideas aren't coming from. It's maybe coming from within, but then from within is maybe tapping into something that you're kind of explaining in a well. And it's even just as a creative force, I like the theory of what I'm trying to explain is how it's this muse, and we're kind of tapping in, and we're an antenna, and we're getting this information, whether creatively or whatever it may be, from a source. And I'm just personally, interpreting your story and what you're explaining me as that in a way. I may be mistaken, but that's how I'm taking it. It's like you're almost tapping into this, whatever this, the umbilical cord, or we're tapping into this frequency, and we're getting this creative ability that is ours, but it's not ours. And I just believe we have that ability to tap into that. And again, I don't want people to feel like, oh, I gotta wear a nice jacket and get it stuck under a train and have this experience to tap into this creative ability. It's like, it's always there to tap into. It's just, again, I think I'm pulling from shedding that weight and just shedding this stuff that really isn't us and then become this pure form, whether it's through meditation. I think it's a discovery that we have to figure out. But at first I feel like it's that decision to believe in that in the first place. And then from there, maybe it all just unfolds. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I used to play guitar very badly. I used to thrash out 3 chords in a punk band and stuff. And then after the accident, I couldn't do that because the arm got bashed up really badly. And but I write music for orchestra now. I still can't read or write a single note of music, but I've been writing for orchestra. And the same thing, just like the paintings, I had this sense of not sort of self-assured cockiness, but it was more like a sense of why not? Let's just try this. And and the ideas were coming through from, as you just beautifully put, just from somewhere else, But that's why we love watching. Sports players, for example, Usain Bolt, the fastest man in the world. And I remember seeing him interviewed after he'd just broken the world record, and they said to him afterwards, they said, how did you feel when you were running that race? And he said, I was cool, man, I was relaxed, and they were going, you were relaxed, you're the fastest man in the world. And he was going, yeah. And I thought, there you go, that's it. He wasn't allowing the thinking mind to kick in. He was tapping into that other universal energy that was helping him to run at a great speed and break that world record. That's why we like watching all these guys. That's why we start, we watch tennis. Tennis is, if you think about it, if you came from another planet, you think, are we insane? They're just sitting there in crowds watching, 2 guys hitting a ball backwards and forwards for hours on end. But we watch them because they're tapping into that other universal force, and so we're drawn to it.